What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, I got a little bit of a different video for you guys today. We're not really going to get into any news articles or anything like that, but we are going to get into some deep analysis here. But right off the jump, I just want to show you guys exactly where we're at with the White House and the staff and everything. Like, I've been waiting for this for a very long time. I used to love watching Kayleigh McEnany back when she was Trump's press secretary. I used to just love, you know, the back and forth. And she would just knock these people down, right? And I was kind of worried about Karoline Leavitt. I didn't know anything about her when I heard she was coming in to be the White House press secretary. I was like, I don't know much about her. Kind of went over her X profile and her Truth social profile and kind of read some of the stuff. And I was like, oh, this is encouraging, very encouraging. But when we got the first press briefing, I was absolutely blown away, y'all. Absolutely blown away. It's Kayleigh McEnany all over. Again, as a matter of fact, maybe even a little bit better. Check this out, y'all.
566 of the migrants appear to have no prior criminal record besides entering the country illegally. Is the president still focused exclusively, which is a civil crime, it's not criminal?
It's a federal crime.
So I'm asking though. He said he was going to focus on those violent offenders first. So is violent offenders no longer the predicate for these people to be deported?
The president has said countless times on the campaign trail, I've been with him at the rallies, I know you've been there covering them too, Peter, that he is focused on launching the largest mass deportation operation in American history of illegal criminals. And if you are an individual, a foreign national, who illegally enters the United States of America, you are, by definition, a criminal. And so therefore, you are subject to deportation.
So to be clear, it's not violent criminals do not receive precedence in terms of the deportations taking place.
The president has also said two things can be true at the same time. We want to deport illegal criminals, illegal immigrants from this country, but the president has said that, of course, the individuals who have committed heinous acts on the interior of our country and who have terrorized law-abiding American citizens, absolutely, those should be the priority of ICE, but that doesn't mean that the other illegal criminals who entered our nation's borders are off the table.
The 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office. Can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
You made a point, all have a criminal record?
And welcome to the briefing
If they
room.
broke our nation's laws, yes, they are a criminal. Yes.
Finally, a White House press secretary that will get out there and tell the truth, that will tell these smarmy left-wing cultists over here that, yes, if you break our freaking laws, that means you're a criminal. Regardless of if you're just a dreamer and trying to come over here for a better life, if you come across that border illegally, you are a criminal. You committed a crime. Like the vast majority of Americans are criminals as well under that logic, right? Because we are. I mean, if you speed, you broke the law. You're a criminal, right? This might not be like a violent offense or anything like that, but the amount of the sheer amount of people that came across that southern border in the past 4 years has been absurd. So we need a pendulum swing in the other direction to get these people out of here, to get us back to normality, right? It's just been outright insane. And the amount of lies that have come out of the White House over this past 4 years have been nuts. These people have just been living a totally different reality than everybody else. Like they just lived in some like non-fact based reality over here where they can just do and say anything they want to and get away with it. Karine Jean-Pierre was not even good at lying. She was terrible at lying. They were just blatant lies. You know she's lying. She knows you know she's lying. And it's like, what's even the point of her even being up there? It makes absolutely no sense. All these narratives they push out, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, enough of that. What we're going to get into, I was going through the Tulsi Gabbard confirmation nomination hearing, right? And I was just like utterly disappointed in several of the Democrats, right? Like I was hoping to get something of substance from some of these people, and I get nothing. Like Republicans were the only ones that ask any decent questions, but even still, even the Republicans, they were kind of like, okay, just standard, basic, generic questions, if you will. But, you know, Democrats, they just wanted to focus on narratives. That's all they wanted to focus on. Okay, so Tulsi Gabbard goes to Syria to meet with Assad, right? Because of all the gassing of his own citizens and all that stuff that he was accused of. And come to find out later, he did. He gassed his own citizens. That regime has fell. And she had very, very genuine concerns about what was going on with this. Okay, so there was some intelligence come across. Anyway, let's check this clip out, and then we're going to break everything down, because I was highly disappointed in Senator Mark Kelly. I used to look up to this guy, to be honest with you, because he was an astronaut. Right, so that kind of speaks to his mental capabilities there, because I'll just say this right off the top. He is an astronaut. You don't become an astronaut. You don't rise to that level by being a surface level thinker, by being an idiot. So with that being said, just to get that out of the way, let's roll this clip.
To help inform the public, the Trump administration released declassified intelligence in 2017 and again in 2018. Showing how experts analyze multiple types of evidence, satellite imagery, medical experts' witnesses, describing sources, and showing the reasoning used to determine Assad's culpability in using these chemical weapons, including in Douma and Khan Sheikhoun in these attacks, the ones that you question. I have 2 documents I want to submit for the record, Mr. Chairman.
Admitted.
Thank you. Were you aware of the declassified assessments, the one I referenced?
Yes, I was.
And as a member of the House Armed Services Committee and the Foreign Affairs Committee, did you take time to review these?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And can you explain to me then why you doubted the intelligence community's conclusions in these 2 cases, Douma and Khan Sheikhoun, but not the others? And please be specific.
These 2 cases were being looked at as to be used as a pretext for major military movement, and my fear was a repeat of the deployment of another 500,000 soldiers like we saw in Iraq towards what was the Obama administration's goal, which was regime change in Syria. The question specifically that I raised around these 2 came about because there were 2 reasons. One, that assessment was made with high confidence and low information. The information that they had came from those on the ground in an al-Qaeda controlled area, and therefore were al-Qaeda linked sources. And there was conflicting information that came from the UN's Office on the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons inspectors, as well as an MIT professor, Ted Postel,
So I
who
want to talk
looked at
about him
these
for a second.
extensively.
So did you look into his credentials, yes or no?
Yes.
And were you aware of his appearances on Russian Today, which is used by the Russians to disseminate government-approved messages?
No.
Were you aware Postel relied on a chemistry student with a record of defending the Assad regime?
At that time, I was not. I have been made aware since.
Do you consider this person or these 2 individuals now, do you consider them a better source for the chemistry of sarin gas than the U.S. intelligence community?
I assess that at the time, the information, I don't know the second person you're referring to, but MIT professor Ted Postel and the inspectors of the OPCW provided some credible questions that deserved examination.
Okay, thank you. Did you attempt to weigh Postel's claims against the significant evidence and assessments already conducted by the IC?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt this right quick because I need to break down this narrative right here, right fast. Okay, so he's talking about this MIT professor. Oh, did you know that he appeared on Russian television to blah, 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 blah? Like, does this matter? Right? Because he's sympathetic to Russia, does that mean this guy can't tell the truth? I can't stand this coming from these people. They think that everything that comes out of Russia is Russian propaganda. They don't ever tell the truth about anything ever. Right? And another UN inspector. What reason would we have to not believe a UN inspector, for crying out loud? Like, these ideas, these questions are predicated upon the fact, of course we know now that he most most certainly did sarin gas his people in these two specific instances that they're talking about. We know this, not right? We're playing Monday morning quarterback over here, so we already know the answers to these questions. But at the time, you're right. Like he questions her, and she says we were getting conflicting information, and she had some questions. That was it. But watch what he does coming up. It's insane what these people are doing. Like, it leads you to believe, once again, like I was saying in the intro before the clip, is, okay, so I can't stand that. This was highly disappointing for Mark Kelly because, once again, he's an astronaut. He's not an idiot. You don't get to that position by, freaking walking in space from the International Space Station by being a surface level thinker. So there's something deeper going on behind these set of questions, right? It's political, and I can't stand this. So this is the DNI confirmation hearing, right? She's going to be leading all the intelligence agencies, right? So this guy, he should be asking more intelligent questions. I know those aren't correlate. That doesn't correlate intelligence with intelligence. I know those are two different things. I know, but like it seems like he's pushing an agenda here when he really should be going after how good is she going to do. Like, instead of this ridiculous test, because that's all it is. It's a ridiculous test. He's just making himself look like an idiot to anybody who pays attention to logic, for crying out loud. Let's keep going.
So here's my concern here, Colonel. When we began this, you described a thoughtful approach to analyzing intelligence and reaching conclusions. This is what we expect of our professionals. But we just kind of walked through how you came to question Assad's use of chemical weapons in these two cases with a different approach. And I don't reject seeking out differing viewpoints. We need to do that. But you started from a place of doubting the conclusions of the U.S. intelligence community, and then you sought out information that confirmed your viewpoint. That led you to embrace the opinions of two individuals that I think we disagree on this. You think they had expertise, I do not, and others do not. But these individuals were sympathetic to Russia and the Assad regime. It also led you to minimize or discount the overwhelmingly information that contradicted your viewpoint, including the expert assessments of our own intelligence community. And they don't get it right 100% of the time. I get that. But what I have seen makes it clear that at the same time that you were skeptical of our intelligence community's assessments, you would not apply the same skepticism to information that came from sympathizers of Russia and Assad. And I think that's something that we should all be concerned about. Thank you, and I'm sorry for going over my time.
Thank you, Senator Kelly.
What I really find humiliating for him on this is that he invokes confirmation bias while engaging in confirmation bias, while everything that comes out of Russia is bad. Russia, Russia, Russia. Nothing they say is ever true. How can that be? This is just absurd. What he does right here is so surface level, it borderlines stupid, if you ask me. He goes on to say, you question our intelligence agencies. They don't get everything right all the time. Like, hang on, dude. Like, really? Are you freaking kidding me right now? You're pretty much berating her in a very casual, intellectual way, if you will, but he's berating her for doubting the intelligence of the United States, while also backdooring that with, we don't always get it right, playing Monday morning quarterback here. Like, now that we know that, yes, he was responsible for the sarin gas attacks, that's ridiculous. He is calling into question her intelligence while being an idiot himself with this, right? So obviously he's pushing a political agenda. All these senators are pushing a political agenda, but you don't have to make it so obvious. That it's blatantly obvious right here, right? Like, I would love to have faith in some Democrats here, all right? Like I said, I used to look up to this guy. He was an astronaut. I'm heavily into space and science and all that garbage, right? So the fact that he is coming out and being so hyper-partisan, doing all this surface level nonsense, it's gobbledygook, if you will, trying to berate her, make her look like she's a traitor to this country. That's exactly what he's trying to do right here. Oh, you question our intelligence agencies. Blah, 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 blah. What reason? Like, what she said made total sense. It made complete sense, right? The information we were getting, like she said in that hearing on the first section of that clip, was high confidence with low evidence. And then he comes in who's like, all the overwhelming evidence. Well, hang on. Was it overwhelming evidence? No, it wasn't at the time. There was good reason to question this. But, once again, oh, it's a puppet of Russia, so it's got to be propaganda. Everything's got to be propaganda when it comes to Russia. I can't stand that. It completely clouds these people's judgment. Russia when Russia comes into the picture, it clouds these people's judgment so bad they can't think straight. Russia could come out with a statement saying, look, the sun is white, and they would rush to the Senate chambers or the Senate floor or whatever and say, the sun is yellow, go look up in the sky. But everybody knows that the sun is actually white. The surface temperature of the sun is, I think it's like 5,700 degrees. Something like that. 6,000 degrees, somewhere around in there. And we all know 6K is white. It's white, as a matter of fact. The only reason it looks orange or yellow at certain times is because of the atmosphere we're looking through. Once again, Russia could come out and say anything, and they would refute it. They would think it's propaganda, right? Questioning a professor from MIT who happens to be a professor at MIT. And if he's giving out what appears to be credible evidence that contradicts the intelligence services who have been known to lie to the American people, who have been known to get it wrong, once again, now he's berating her for questioning this. This is some of the most ridiculous reasoning, if you even want to call it reasoning. It's just insane to me. But I love it. Tulsi Gabbard handled this quite well. I wish she would have had a chance to respond to him, but that was the complete end of that. But that whole thing was a circus, y'all. Just an outright circus. These people make no sense. Ever. Democrats have made themselves look like fools over these past couple of weeks with these confirmation hearings because all they care about is vanity, for crying out loud, and pushing an agenda. That's it. All of Donald Trump's picks are bad because Orange Man bad. They could care less about the character of these people, right? Like Kash Patel is another example. I watched that confirmation hearing. That was nuts as well. Now, Kash Patel has said some incendiary things for them, right? They're like, oh my goodness. But it's stuff like, the FBI has become corrupt, which it has. The FBI has become weaponized, which it has. It's become politicized. And they'll take things like, oh, Kash Patel has a list of deep state actors, and then they automatically turn that around into most of the questions from Democrats were, well, since you have an enemies list, I don't think he should be confirmed. Anyone that has an enemies list should not serve as the FBI director. It's like, is it an enemies list, right? Like actually stating, not literally stating, but stating to anybody that's in the know with all of this that, hey, if these people have committed crimes because they're part of the establishment, they should be able to get away with it. That's what Senate Democrats are telling everybody by opposing Kash Patel, because he sees some criminal activity going on here, says, look, these are deep state actors, puts him in his book, and then they call that an enemies list, and they're berating him for having an enemies list. It's absurd. They're doing the same thing to Tulsi Gabbard. They did the exact same thing to RFK Jr. I watched that confirmation hearing. That was insane. Like, several of those Senate Democrats went on psychotic rants. Just psychotic, they lost their mind. A complete meltdown. Like several Senate Democrats had complete meltdowns over RFK Jr., right? Because he questions vaccines, for crying out loud. He doesn't really question the vaccine. He questions the safety of the vaccine, if you will, right? Because they don't have the safety tests. They can't prove that they've put rigorous testing for safety on those vaccines. They don't have the results, or at least they claim to not have the results of the safety tests for all the childhood schedule vaccines that we all have to take. We just want to see what, hey, what are the side effects? What do the safety studies show? Blah, 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 blah. He questions these things. If you question the narrative of the establishment, you will be outed as some conspiracy theorist nut job. That's what they do. That's all this is. Right? This is totally and utterly against the interests of the American people. It's totally and utterly against the interest of you, me, everybody in this country, because we need to know these things. We need to know, did our national intelligence lie to us over a regime change operation? Right? Did our national intelligence lie to us because the FBI was doing some underhanded corrupt stuff over here? Right? Did they lie to us about the efficacy of a vaccine? Which, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I'm just, once again, YouTube is really, really iffy about these things. So I'm not a doctor. I don't know. These vaccines, they're said to be safe. So go research if you have any questions. Don't take my word for it. That's all I'm going to say on that. But we want to see that research, as a matter of fact. But if you question that, you get kicked off of YouTube. Blah, 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 blah. It's insane. It's nuts that I have to say. Don't take my word for it. Go research the safety tests. But hang on, RFK Jr. sued, the NIH and Dr. Fauci and all these people to get those safety tests. And they don't have them. It's all absurd, y'all. It really is. But I've rambled on for way too long. This video has turned out way longer than I thought it was going to. So I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. Hopefully I've earned a like. Just smash that like button for me if you don't mind. I would greatly appreciate that. And y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.